Here we are again, another New Year's Eve Dalek episode. It's not New Year's Eve, it's New Year's Day, you plonk. Probably because it's Eve of the Daleks. Another New Year's Day Dalek special. At least it's the last New Year's special as far as I'm aware. I think this whole New Year's Day special thing has been a ploy from the start. Eve of the Daleks is the first and possibly only episode of Chibnall's to air on a Saturday evening. Not that that actually means anything, and I'm probably not the first to notice this either. In fairness as well, I'd say this is probably the strongest of the trilogy, but that's not really saying much because it's certainly not lacking in flaws either. What a surprise! Chib chibbiny, chib chibbiny, chib chib chibby. My luck as a critic's as lucky can be. With Doctor Who winding down, I imagine most will be wanting something else to fill their Sunday evening spot. Unfortunately, not everything is on Netflix, but you can broaden the availability of TV shows with a VPN like Atlas VPN. You simply hit a switch and you'll be browsing the internet as though you were in another country. This means you can watch shows that are available in Japan, the Netherlands, the USA, Italy, France, India, and Canada. If you're outside the UK, you can access iPlayer as though you were sat comfy at home. Atlas VPN boasts of unlimited devices and is available on Windows, Android, iOS, and macOS. Best part is, if you don't like it for whatever reason, they have a 30-day money-back guarantee as well. You can get a considerable discount on a 3-year deal, 86% in fact. That comes to a mere £1.04 a month when you click my link in the description. Now, without further ado, let's get on with the review. We begin at Elf Storage Facility, which acts as this episode's setting. I must say, after all the varying locations that got thrown our way for the past 7 episodes, it was refreshing to have the episode stay in one place.
Localized entirely within your kitchen.
Yes.
This made the episode feel more grounded and less sporadic, but I also felt that the size of the facility was forgotten about in order to get Daleks and humans at the right place at the right time. More on that later. We're introduced to Sarah, whose phone seems to be operating rather unconventionally. Her Facebook Messenger messages aren't stacked for some reason, and her phone can't be put on silent.
My phone's broken the button and I can't put it on silent.
Can't you just put it on silent from the notification panel? Talk about product placement as well. Anyway, Sarah's business is suffering and she can't get cover for the most important day of the year for her business, the day this guy Nick decides to show up with something to put in storage. Shortly afterwards, he is seen storing his famous Monopoly board and comes face to face with a Dalek. He gets exterminated and then goes out to kill Sarah too. The Dalek saying,
I am not Nick,
was rather humorous given that the voice actor has that very name. I also appreciated Aisling B's performance of this rather unhinged character, jealous at the fact she can't go out and party. Ah, yes, this is exactly what I want! She brought some unexpected vitality to the episode, though I'm not quite sure how I feel about her phone being stuck to her face for a significant portion of it too. I mean, she knows exactly what her mammy's gonna say every time, so when she answers the phone with every reset, I just cringed so hard. I found the initial deaths of these relatively undeveloped characters to be rather hilarious, until we saw the Doctor and companions themselves being killed, thus beginning a scenario that I genuinely found myself invested in. Meanwhile, the Doctor gave us a surprising explanation as to why the TARDIS started growing arms and doors last year. Apparently it was all just flux debris, which I think is a pretty weak excuse. It's a shame, with this being the case, that the TARDIS interior didn't go into an absolute meltdown when the final wave was active in the previous episode. I found the idea of the TARDIS resetting to be a fairly good one though, as it trapped the characters inside this storage facility. Plus, this slow motion escape looked fucking awesome. It's a shame my imagination got the better of me though, because I was honestly expecting the episode to showcase a new interior design. Seeing the TARDIS all cracked like this made me think this was how the TARDIS looked outside whenever this makeover happens. When the characters return to it at the end of the episode though, it just...
Look at you. So much better.
but it looks exactly the same. The second reset establishes that a previously mentioned character named Jeff, who never actually makes an appearance in this episode, kept a shitload of stuffed animals, holiday goods and tins of food in the facility. Everyone gets killed again and they identify that the resets are in fact a minute into the future each time. I thought the gang pretending to be from the council was pretty funny, and Sarah's response to the whole thing was really great too. The Dalek then showed up and started chasing them. I thought this was going to be the moment the next bunch of deaths would come, because in a narrow corridor like this, how could a Dalek with a machine gun attachment possibly miss?
All I know is we don't have much time.
Get behind me, Sarah! What are you doing? I'm being too earth.
So not only did all the characters know to duck at the right moment, but you have 15 seconds of the Dalek just shooting the fucking walls. This Sontaran-esque inaccuracy plagues this episode, and it totally nullifies the Daleks being made more powerful with their new weaponry.
Pretty smart, Daleks. Deadliest killing machine in the universe.
We then come to that weird bit with Nick's "I hook up with girls and keep all their shit" shenanigans. As unbelievable as it is, it played into Sarah's escalating angry rant towards him, which was the absolute peak of B's performance.
Just throw stuff away!
This led to him essentially killing himself, and I truly found this whole segment to be awkwardly fantastic. What wasn't quite so fantastic though was the companions acting as weirdly as ever. They went from being as weirded out as Sarah was, only to be suddenly defending this guy. Even after he got exterminated, I was just left baffled by Yaz.
It's okay. It's okay.
Get a hold of yourself!
They're even holding hands in another shot. Even weirder was the Doctor asking about a way out.
Where's the exit? Where's the way out? You know I said there's always another way out. Yeah. There isn't.
I was surprised by how during this reset, Sarah didn't chirp up and say, "Oh yes, there is another exit in the basement." Only in the following reset did Sarah establish this to Nick.
The escape is over that way, through that corridor.
Despite a Dalek lurking around behind the pair right here, it didn't quite manage to find this magical exit and lock it off like it did with the main entrance.
Dalek strategy is supreme.
Oh yeah? Tough guy?
The Doctor somehow establishes that a second Dalek is also wandering around the building. The actual number of Daleks in this episode seemed to fluctuate throughout without any logical strategy. This leads Dan to perform another one of his spontaneous acts of heroism to distract one of them.
I'm good at this.
I found Dan's delaying tactics to be rather hilarious, watching him make the Dalek spin after pretending he had something to store. It was a shame this didn't go on for longer though, or perhaps seeing the Dalek utilize its plunger to counter Dan's close-range maneuvers. The Doc and Yaz then find a living room in one of the storage rooms. I think this would have been the perfect opportunity to introduce this Jeff character, but instead the pair just say that he lives there and that he's a bad man. For some reason the Doctor relays word for word what Elf Storage's policy on hazardous materials is.
If I set fire to this, will it have explosive and potentially devastating consequences?
If I set fire to this item, will it have potentially explosive or devastating consequences?
Nick then explains that the reason why he goes to the facility on New Year's Eve every year is because he has a crush on Sarah. Wow, I totally didn't see that one coming. Another thing I saw coming was when they explained the TARDIS was what was causing the time loop. I mean, it's fine, I like that altering the interior can have repercussions like this. It's just how the Doc acts all surprised as though the Daleks know more about the TARDIS than she does. Intriguingly as well, the Daleks lay her genocidal actions from the last episode right at her feet. I did also appreciate Sarah basically saying that she's not interested in keeping the fam safe from harm, which tied in nicely with her having a go at the Doctor later on about how little she's done to stop them all getting killed. The group of five then had a weird conversation about how they were going to get out. Sarah finally brings up the fact there's a door in the basement, but the Doctor would rather blow everything up instead of just leaving.
How would you feel about destroying this place?
This scene then became an escalation of absolute cringe the further we got in.
I mean, this place is all I have.
If you don't get out, you won't have anything.
Who is he? Why is he talking?
Are you? Noticing my mate, that's my job.
I remember right at the start the Dalek essentially saying,
Your sonic's no good here.
Part of this plan though is for the Doctor to use the sonic to bounce life signals off the walls. It's a shame that a limitation placed on the Doctor is essentially undone 40 minutes in. To round the whole thing off, the Doctor has this really stupid rallying speech about making friends and... I just wanted to do what Nick did earlier.
22 boxes. £250,000. Just one question. Welcome to Deal or No Deal.
Another aspect of this episode that irked me somewhat was making Yaz's crush on the Doctor clear as day by Dan. It is honestly a shame that the first LGBT relationship between the Doctor and companion in the show feels so forced. Dan cites his 4 years of globe-trotting with Yaz as an example of her adoration of the Doctor, but given how nonsensical that scenario was, I still don't find this to be a good enough justification. Worse still is it's the only justification to my mind. Once again, the fake crying just ruins this potentially emotional scene as we're then thrown back into the action and the tear streaks on her face have just vanished. In the next reset, Dan tells the Doctor that Yaz fancies her like they were in a school playground. It seems as though Dan can't comprehend the idea of the Doctor not fancying her back, as though he in turn was trying to guilt trip her into confessing her feelings. Things from here just got so ridiculously convoluted and all hope for this episode dissipated. The semi-final loop is the one where everyone needs to do the opposite of what they're supposed to, so that in the final minute they can do exactly what they were meant to. What am I even saying? I really want to like the idea that the Daleks were adapting to the limited time they had like the other characters. It made the episode feel like a game of chess with both sides trying to predict the other's moves. When you see a Dalek shooting the elevator to stop it in an earlier reset though, and then later consistently choosing not to do so, it just disproves that this sort of thinking was ever employed by the Daleks to begin with. At 11:58, Nick apparently was able to pile up all his clutter to make a barrier at the speed of light, which was destroyed in an equally short amount of time. There was a pretty funny moment with the fam sitting around in Jeff's living room, and then we move on to the final minute that isn't actually a minute. The time between the reset beginning and the explosion counts up to 1 minute and 57 seconds. And this doesn't even include the time with the Doctor and Yaz going up the lift and gathering all the explosive materials that the editors conveniently cut out. It was also a bit odd that the basement gate was locked as shit when we first saw it, but in the final minute it magically transformed into a half-open roller door. The episode finishes with a mandatory set of fireworks going off with the destruction of the facility. Hilariously, the TARDIS managed to survive the destruction, not even being buried under mountains of rubble. The cherry on the cake of it all, though, was seeing that crane driver from the woman who fell to Earth complimenting the firework display. What the actual fuck? So, did it suck? Basically, this episode's super promising scenario collapses under the weight of its stupid wrap-up. Without a doubt, Aisling B comes out as the shining star of this episode. I thought she was funny, interesting, and brought some spark to her would-be boring character. I will also grant that the episode had me genuinely laughing at several points too. However, the infestation of typical Chibnall-era garbage that creeps into this episode leaves the remainder to be bitterly disappointing. I give Eve of the Daleks a 4 out of 10.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers